sense of this word. They help in implementation of this project as partners together with us. Tiina, you're welcome. Thank you, Tanya. Good afternoon again. I'm Tiina Ilsen. I work in the Center of Eastern Partnership at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Estonia. I will say a couple of words. You probably know that Estonia, from the very beginning, has been supporting reforms in Ukraine, and the fact that European Union adopted the policy of Eastern Partnership in 2009, that helped our center because we have very good experience in reforms, and we created our center to share our experience. We missed a lot of time, and we missed 50 years of our development. You missed a lot of time, and there's no time to commit all the mistakes yourselves. And we, with our Estonian practical experience, we hope that sharing our experience will help you. We work in different directions. I can talk about that in more detail later. I will stay with you longer, but why we have selected one of our priorities, the work with media at the local level. It's because you, the journalists, are the first ones when it comes to all changes, to change of mentality and understanding by people. And that is why many of our journalists are now those who were fighting during the transitional period. Some of them are now opinion leaders. And what you did with the UCMC team and what we are doing now, that's our pilot approach. And if you believe that you will benefit from that method, we will support it. Estonia is a small country. I understand that the scale is different, but the problems are the same. We have very similar mentality. We share common history, and I hope that I can say that the whole Estonia is ready to do everything for Ukraine, for reforms in Ukraine to be successful. I hope that we'll continue our work. Thank you. We have a different speaker. The previous speaker cannot be present because of technical reasons, but we are very pleased to introduce Mr. Tiit Matsulevich, who was the ambassador of Estonia to Ukraine. And he doesn't just understand what Ukraine is, but he has good experience of work in Ukraine. And we requested him to tell us about how did you communicate to your citizens the information about Europe in the transitional period? Thank you, dear. Guest, I will continue in Russian, because my Ukrainian probably is not that good. Why does Estonia need European Union? Answering the central question of our panel, I would provide a brief answer. The European Union, the membership of Estonia in the European Union, is one of our national interests. And the national interest, it means answering the question on how to ensure the prosperity of the country so that the country is in freedom and in safety. For us, the membership in the European Union, our aspiration to become the members of the European Union wasn't the goal in itself. The reforms that we started 25 years ago, we did it for ourselves, for our future. And that is the correct way so that we can get a full membership in the European Union. This is what we realized later. But the initial positions of Ukraine and Estonia were similar, I believe. Estonia is in a somewhat worse position because we don't have such resources as in Ukraine. Today, 25, 26 years later, Estonia, according to the rating of transformational states, of post-Soviet states, is at the first position. The internal GDP per capita in Estonia is $18,000. In Ukraine, it's $3,000. Even though the initial positions 25, 26 years ago were similar. I'd like to remind you that in the result of the survey of March, 56% of the population of Ukraine in the European Union support the membership in the European Union. 56% support the membership of Ukraine in NATO. Back in times of presidency of Leonid Kuchma, and the fundamental decision was made that the future of Ukraine is membership in transatlantic alliances. European and transatlantic alliances, full membership in European Union and in NATO. So that decision hasn't been cancelled. In Estonia, 25 years ago, we didn't have a clear plan. That plan has been developed only in the result of the political discussions. We didn't have one clear attitude to the European Union. There were populist forces which were saying that why do we need the European Union? We were in the Soviet Union, and these were populists. Most probably such populists were supporting the attitude of Baltic countries to Russia. And the European Union didn't have a clear understanding of what will happen to these Baltic states, because then few could believe that these countries can survive as independent states. They thought that they have too small resources and too weak political will, and sooner or later these countries will go back to the sphere of influence of Russia, or maybe they will become even like parts of Russian Federation. But this did not happen, as you can see. And from the very beginning, our mass communications are very we had mass communications, and we were working on creating one single opinion on the European Union. In those days, we practically did not know how the European Union functions. There was not even the European Union. As you remember, the European Union was formed on the 1st of November 1993 after Maastricht agreements came to force. Before that, there was a European community. We lived in this information space. We didn't know how the soul functions, and what was the main thing when elites of the country came to conclusion that this is the only possible development for Estonia, which will provide necessary dynamic for life of Estonians. And we were trying to educate our population to provide a true picture of what is the European Union. And we succeeded in that. When the negotiations started with the European Union, starting from 1998, they got successful. We harmonized our legislation. We harmonized all the spheres of life according to the principle that exists in the European Union. And then there was the referendum. There was a referendum where people were asked, what do you think about the full membership in the European Union, because this cannot be taken only by such decision cannot be taken only by the parliament. And the result was the true result. 66% voted for the membership in the European Union, 34% against. I'm sorry. You have less than 1 minute left. And and these figures show what the public thinks about the European Union. And very briefly, the main thing, when we started our negotiations with the European Union clearly explained to us, and that was the principle of the European Union, despite some romantic approaches on the side of some Estonians. European Union told us, and I will try to say it in Ukrainian, when you want, when you desire to be with us, you need to be like we are. That is the whole science. Thank you.
Thank you for your smiles and for this announcements. And I know that Eurointegration is simple. This is prosperity and security. And dear colleagues, you will have the opportunity to ask your questions a little bit later, because I do not want to waste time. And you see also 3 speakers. This is independent consultant on ecology issue, Kanten Boulanger, and the representative of NGO Association for You, and who is an expert of European and Euro-Atlantic integration, and we hope that you will hear practical advice, why it is important, how to write about it, what should be the messages, and Mr. Boulanger will provide an information about the case, and Petro will allow you to understand the broadness of opportunity, how to prepare the materials, and how to deal with the topic of Euro integration. Now I give the floor to Lidiya. Lidiya. For overall introduction to this panel. Thank you very much. And what time do I have? So we have to end at 12:30, and then the questions will be off record, so you have 10 minutes each. So I would like to tell you about the process of integration, how to look at a in a different way. When I ask what is Euro integration, when I ask my acquaintances, they say, I do not know, maybe this is visa-free regime, maybe these are some experts opportunities, maybe this is policy, maybe this is about public servants, but they do not feel that it relates to common citizens. They believe that this is something external, and we believe that Euro integration is our internal process, the process of reforms. Euro integration, why do we need it? What it will give us here in Ukraine? Whether we will be in the European Union or not, but the changes will improve our lives in many aspects. So we would like to speak about key messages. What is the main message of Euro integration concerning so Euro integration is legal harmonization with the European Union. You may find such explanations on the site of the Supreme Council and in many documents. But the issue is what it gives us, and it is difficult to answer. And if we have such an aspect as energy sector, this is the supply of electricity without interruptions, and this is one of the elements, one of the consequences of introduction of some legal acts, in order that the candles are lit only for romantic reasons, because when we do not have electricity, we lit candles, but here we will use them only with this purpose. And we have directives. There is a law of Ukraine on electricity market that has been adopted recently. So people are more interested in practical things. This is, of course, an example that is for a joke, but why we are speaking about it? We are speaking about advantages and what this process will give us. Maybe not only advantages, maybe some advantages will be felt in mid-term and long-term prospect, but people should understand what will happen in the end, what is the end aim of the reforms, and what should be the changes in the attitude. Otherwise, these will be only empty words, and otherwise it won't be interesting to your audience. About the Ministry of Infrastructure, the colleague said about automobile transport. Speaking technically, we have Annex 32 in the framework of the association agreement, and there are directives and regulations. You may find information there, and if it is interesting for you to know what is there, you can find an Article 1 in the Article 1 of the document, and this article tells you what this document is about, and not all the documents are translated. If they are not, so you can use English version. And if we are speaking about directives, for example, payment for the use of some infrastructure. So this is bureaucratic language, and you heard our experts during first panel, and they told you about what is going on in their spheres. And this directive establishes taxes, minimum taxes, and the use of the vehicles that do not harm environment, also payments for transportation, for the use of infrastructure. But all of this goes for the modernization of roads or some other changes and improvements of infrastructure. So the question is whether a Ukrainian citizen knows what is a directive. So if he is not alloy, do you know the difference between regulation and directive? Is it really necessary to know about it? Or the directive with such a complex number? So people are interested how the introduction of this directive influences the life of people. So when you read about the adoption of laws, they say about obligations of Ukraine according to the agreement, and people, for most people, these are just empty words. That's why we should speak about benefits, and we should not intimidate people with some complex terms. For people, it is important that the new roads will be built, that environment will be protected, and there will be clear responsibility for violation, for ruining of roads. And our colleague from the Ministry of Transport said that there will be control of weight established, and also what is planned to do by the road safety, proper conditions of work of drivers, because many of them drive for more than 8 hours a day. They want to sleep, they do not have strength, but no one is interested in this. So social protection changes in the labor code concerning work of drivers also bring into responsibility. Prices for transportation will be clearly set for passenger and freight transportation. Also, protection of passengers, their rights should be properly protected, and also fight against corruption. Everything should be transparent. There won't be any violations, and this will also improve economic conditions. So I have 1 minute. So I believe that this is convincing. If we show what these acts give us, this will be more clear for people. And about the Ministry of Natural Resources. So sustainable development of Ukraine, you heard a lot of it, and also active participation of citizens in environmental protection, and people will comment on the projects of commercial activities, and their comments should be taken into account at the local regional level. So this is a good step ahead, and people should know that they have such a right. They should be interested in this, and this will be direct democracy, the influence on decision taking, and you can read about it, about strategic assessment of economic activity. So there are many aspects. I will show you this on slides, and this is protection of seas, rivers, and ponds, and also improvement of coastline, protection of parks and biodiversity, and the Eurointegration is also connected with the development of biodiversity. Maybe some animals will be introduced into the Red Book, and many people do not associate all these aspects with the agreement on association. So we have two directives on wastes and on burial wastes and what it gives to people. We will speak with Mr. Boulanger, and he will tell us about Mr. Mann, 300,000 citizens reside there. And so the idea is clear, and I ask you to speak with the participants after the meeting. Now, Mr. Boulanger, you have 5 minutes, and I will translate. Now we have translation. The issue is...
Починайте переклад, а зараз доєднаються перекладачі.
Translating, and then the interpreters will join.
I will be speaking in English. Unfortunately, my Russian and Ukrainian is good enough to understand, but not good enough to make a presentation in it yet.
Доброго дня. Я, на жаль, змушений говорити англійською, бо моя російська, українська настільки хороші. Я розумію ці мови, але недостатньо добре, щоб спілкуватися. Дякую за розуміння.
My name is Boulanger. I'm a consultant on energy and environmental issue, and basically for the last year I led a study on waste management system of a city that is here called N. It's a real case. It's just called N for a simple reason, that is basically the study is not yet completely over, so it's not yet public, but it's a real case in Ukraine.
Да, мене звати Кантен Boulanger, я консультант з питань екології та енергетики. І впродовж останнього року я брав участь у дослідженні можливості впровадження нової системи поводження відходів в одному з українських міст. В нашому випадку ми назвали це місто Н, але це справжнє місто.
So we heard in the first panel issues the strategy, national waste strategy discussed with the issue of the waste hierarchy. So the point here is to show you how actually moving from putting everything into the landfill into putting as less waste as possible into the landfill can work in practice.
На першій панелі ви почули про прийняття національної стратегії поводження з відходами і, зокрема, торкалося питання, що буде впроваджена система ієрархії п'ятиступеневої поводження з відходами. І ідея в тому полягає, щоб якомога менше викидати сміття і робити все для зменшення кількості відходів в кінцевому випадку.
So in most Ukrainian cities, landfills are 5, 10, 15 kilometers away from the city. So one question that you could say is, well, I don't smell the waste. There is low risk that it explodes, and if it explodes, it won't affect me. Why should I care about not putting my waste there? If you are not a very environmental friendly person, I mean. 5, 10, 15.
Ну, взагалі, зазвичай сміттєзвалища знаходяться на відстані від 5 до 15 кілометрів від міста. І якщо ви не дуже піклуєтеся про навколишнє середовище, ви можете сказати, ну, а чого я справді маю перейматися, що там з тим сміттєзвалищем відбувається? Я не відчуваю запаху, воно мене не турбує, ну, можливо, ризик, що буде якісь взриви, але насправді але будуть якісь вибухи, як у Львові, але ми не впевнені, ну, але ризик такий невеликий.
So the question is, does any of you have any idea what this nice liquid is?
Чи має хтось з вас уявлення, що це за жидкість? Да, що це за рідина в цих бутилях? Добре. Це питання. Ні в кого немає.
Well, partly yes, but well, basically it's when you put waste in your landfill, it decomposes, and this is a liquid that basically is in the landfill and goes afterwards in the land and contaminates your water. So contaminates the river, contaminates the crops, and so on. And studies that were made in several countries show that it can contaminate land up to 150 kilometers away from the landfill. So I would guess that even if the landfill is 15 kilometers away from your home, you should care. Even if you grow tomatoes in your gardens or else, this ends up in what you grow. And obviously, well, the European vision is there is a directive on landfill, so it's to oblige to build landfills in such a way that you have as little of this water as possible that goes in the soil. But obviously, no system, no technology is perfect, so the vision is that we should have this really well-designed landfill as a solution, but the first solution is to put as less as possible into the landfill. And how can it be done? Well, the first thing to know, it's like you don't decide, well, I will do compost, I will do recycling, I will do incineration, just like that. You need to know with what you work. So what is the ways that you have? And very often you have in cities data that come from, you take a truck that carries the waste. Once it arrives on the landfill, it's emptied, and just you check briefly what is inside, and from that you decide, okay, so I have this much of organic waste, this much of paper, this quantity of glass, and so on. Well, it's actually not sufficient to know with what you will work. If you just take a truck who says that what is in the truck is representative. So you have a methodology actually that exists. You cut this into pieces, you decide how many samples you take from each pieces, and you analyze all these samples to be sure that what you analyze is representative of the city. And to know what you can do, you don't only cut, like when analyzing into these categories of organic, plastic, and so on, but you cut by potential. So you actually sort the waste that you took in sample in above 30 categories, and based on that you see, oh, this can be avoided, this can be composted, this can be recycled, this can be incinerated, or you can make energy from it, and only this part can be has to go into the landfill. And in this city, the study showed that actually 9% of waste can be avoided, and avoided in practice. We did a test with a series of houses where we asked them to implement a series of very simple gestures to change a bit their consumption habits, and this led to these results of 9%. Then, well, you know what you have, but, well, if you do compost, you need to be able to sell the compost. If you do recycled products, you need to be able to sell the recycled products. Otherwise, you will invest to build some nice infrastructures, but it will have a very high cost. So you need to check, is there anyone in your city that can recycle the waste? Is there anyone that can buy the compost, and so on? Another issue is that, well, are there any obstacles actually to that? Are there many waste, what is called waste pickers? You all probably saw in your city, people taking waste from the trash bin in the street. It's actually the visible part of the problem. Most of the people that take waste are on the landfill, like in these pictures. And if you have many people that take waste on the landfill, if you build a functioning system, often these people, it's their only revenues. So you take their job, and they can be an obstacle. It's their only revenue. Burning the landfill, burning the sorting line for them is not a problem because they have no other solution. But on the other hand, they are also very qualified people. Those people that take waste on the landfill manage to gather up to 85% of the recycled products on the landfill. So if you think about, okay, maybe I can hire them. Imagine 85% in this condition. If you put them on a nice sorting line where waste arrives in a more adequate way, you will be as effective as any automatic or optical system for much lower cost and by creating jobs, actually, for the city. And the other issue is, obviously, well, are people ready to pay? Because all that has a cost, and are people ready to sort? So in this city, we decided, so based on that, what collection system do you take? How do you ask people to sort? Do you ask them to sort recyclables and waste, or organic and the other mixed waste, or a strict trash bin system? And then also, what is the most valid treatment system? Is it with organic? Do you make compost? Do you make methane and electricity and energy? For recyclable, do you use a manual system or automatic system, and so on and so forth? And actually, in this case of the city, we implemented all these ideas. And we have a situation where we have a big agro holding that is ready to buy all the compost, but requires a high quality of compost. So what is the conclusion that we have is that we need to sort separately organic waste, because otherwise we do not meet the quality that they require. Other aspect is that we have, well, actually green tariffs for electricity that is produced from waste, but not from all waste. You cannot just incinerate plastic, as was said before. In the draft law, it's what is eligible for green tariff. It's energy produced from waste where you removed first all that is recyclable. So if you burn plastic or else, you are not eligible for the green tariff. Here it's organic, it's the last. Here it's organic, so it works. And then we have a lot of waste pickers. So the thing is that we make a manual sorting line, so we hire them, and we don't do sorting of recyclable at first, because otherwise they will just move from the landfill to the city, take everything from the trash bin directly, and when waste will be sorted, nothing that can be sold will arrive. And just some practical benefits. It's 30 seconds. So 3 benefits: job creation of the project, 70 jobs created. Then local economy, some of the construction of the sites will be done by local companies, so you make the local economy work. Health benefits, less of this liquid, better water consumption. And how much does it cost? Just last point. If you do nothing, there is a tax on putting waste in the landfill. So for citizens, anyway, the price that you pay every month will grow by, in this case, 13 hryvnia per inhabitant per month. If you do all these things that I presented very quickly, based on different modalities, at the highest, you will have to increase the price by 30 hryvnia, and it's really the highest. So in many cases, you can have same cost than if you do nothing.
Thank you very much. We'll ask you to your permission to share this presentation with our journalists. Thank you very much once again.
I have to finish. You know that we also need to learn and to interrupt speakers, and that's not about respect on disrespect, but we all need to stick to rules and schedules and deadlines. The next briefing, well, I will give 1 more minute to Petro. Greetings to everyone. I am the environmental specialist who's left according to the residual principle, but we thought that showing this case, we wanted to discuss it with you. How could we present this story in local media? And so I will say a few things so that we do not repeat. So summing it up, when we write about Eurointegration, what we need to understand first and what we need. First, we need to want to write about that. Second, we need to be competent, the journalists, I mean. I'm talking on behalf of all the journalists. We have to be very objective, and we have to understand what is our responsibility for the information that we give to people. Now I finish, I see. So I invite you to talk after off records, and if you're interested, we can talk about how we can present this information to public. Thank you. Sorry for this very brief time we've provided.